to welcome you to the second conference jointly organized by the Embassy of the Republic of Azerbaijan and to the Georgetown Center for Center for Eurasian, Russian, and East European Studies. Welcome. And I would like to introduce the interim dean of the School of Foreign Service, Professor Carol Lancaster, who would like to welcome you a little bit more formally.
Well, good morning. It's my very great pleasure to welcome all of you to the second conference on Azerbaijan, jointly sponsored by the Embassy of Azerbaijan and CERES here at Georgetown. We are, I think I can say, really delighted to be able to co-sponsor this event with you all, and I'm absolutely pleased at how many people have been able to turn up, especially the students. This is a wonderful opportunity, I think, for all of us to remind ourselves how important Azerbaijan is. It's one of the world's smaller countries. I think it's a country where human habitation has existed as long as any place we know of in the world, but it's a very important country, a country that is in a very important region for all of us, a region of potentially great prosperity and also, of course, significant instability, some of which we've seen in the last year or so with the outbreak of conflicts between Russia and Georgia, the tensions involving Iran, all the questions and concerns and perhaps hopes we have for adequate oil supplies, a significant proportion of which begins in the pipeline in Baku. So it's a region that we all need to understand, and a country in the middle of this region that we need to remind ourselves is important, but not just important from a prosperity and a security point of view, but I think also from a cultural point of view. With all of its rich and diverse history and the beauty of its site in many places. So we are, I think, honored and very pleased to co-host this. We're honored to have the Deputy Foreign Minister, Mr. Azemoff, with us. David Kramer, who is at the German Marshall Fund. I think our colleagues will be introduced in more detail later, but I guess he's placed himself in the newspapers and in the media in the last day or so on issues other than Azerbaijan, if I'm not mistaken. And then Undersecretary of State Bill Burns will be turning up presently. I want to call to the podium Ambassador Aliyev from the Embassy of Azerbaijan, our generous co-host, and with that to say thank you for being such a good friend of Georgetown, obviously a good friend of Azerbaijan, and helping us all learn and understand more about your important country and the important part of the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning. As you understand, I'm co-host of this very important meeting. I wholeheartedly welcome you to this important event with the CERES Georgetown Foundation, Georgetown University. I see many known faces, representative of embassies. This is a very well organized conference. As I have been told, even we have 2 security policemen here, so behave please. What I would like to say. Last year, we launched our first annual conference, joint conference with the Georgetown University. Last year's topic was dedicated to a very important area, such as energy security, and we had a panel of eminent and distinguished speakers. So we understand that really this conference should be continued, and we highly appreciate our cooperation, continued cooperation with CERES, with Dr. Angela Stent. And as the new political season is unfolding in Washington, in the nation's capital, we see it's a perfect timing for our conference to take place. And we do understand that nowadays our region, as it was previously, remains very important, highly politically dynamic area of a lot of interest. So we do believe that today's conference will review and will bring very interesting, highlighting moments how the area where Azerbaijan is located is developing and how political situation is unfolding there. And definitely, Azerbaijan-United States relationship is one of the key factors how the whole region, the whole area is developing. I would like to also underline that we do believe that this conference will continue is, I would like to say, annual steps forward. I do believe that eminent list of speakers of today's, they will hugely contribute. I believe that they're going to bring many interesting, many important views on the topic under discussion. And definitely, with your support and help, we're going to celebrate this event as one of the important academic events in the Georgetown. And I sincerely hope that our modest contribution also will be appreciated. Thank you very much, and I leave the floor to Angela Stanton. Thank you.
Secretary Burns has a very distinguished career in the Department of State. I won't read everything out to you because he's very busy, and I know that he has things that he wants to say to you. He's currently the Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs. Before that, he served as ambassador to the Russian Federation from 2005 to 2008. He has been Assistant Secretary for Near Eastern Affairs in the Department of State. He's been ambassador to Jordan. He has also served in the Office of Policy Planning. He's been a special assistant to a few secretaries of state, and he has also served on the national security staff. So a very distinguished and continuing distinguished career, both as an expert on the Near East, as an expert on Russia, and many other things. Welcome, and thank you for coming.
Minister, how are you? Nice to see you. Thank you very much, Angela, for that very kind introduction, and to all of you for organizing such an important conference at such an important moment. It really is an honor to join you today, especially Deputy Foreign Minister Azimov, Ambassador Aliyev, and my friend and former colleague David Kramer. I was asked to discuss the U.S.-Azerbaijan relationship in about 15 minutes. And that reminds me of a story involving George Bernard Shaw, the famous author, which I think highlights the challenge of brevity in public speaking. It seems that Shaw was hosting an event one day in London, and the first speaker came up to him and asked him how long he should speak for. And Shaw told him he should speak for about 15 minutes. He should limit his remarks. And the speaker looked back at him in horror and said, 15 minutes? How am I supposed to tell them everything I know in 15 minutes? And Shaw paused and replied, in your case, my advice would be to speak very slowly. In my case, you don't have to worry about me going much beyond 15 minutes, even if I speak very slowly. Let me start by asking a simple question. Why does Azerbaijan matter to the United States? Since all of you are attending this conference, I'm sure you have a good sense of the importance of Azerbaijan, but sometimes the obvious bears repeating. The United States views Azerbaijan as a strategic partner sitting at the crossroads of the Middle East, Europe, and Asia, regions whose future will shape American interests and foreign policy for many years to come. After gaining independence in 1991, Azerbaijan chose to open its rich oil and gas resources to Western markets and develop commercial partnerships with foreign investors, including U.S. companies. As a result, Azerbaijan has emerged as a key player for diversifying and securing global energy supply. Its pipelines have become main arteries connecting the Caspian Sea to the West. Its commitment to building its governing institutions and a modern economy has bolstered the country's stability and stimulated economic growth. A more stable and prosperous Azerbaijan promises a more stable and prosperous Caucasus. It promises more opportunities for peace in a complex region, and it promises a more reliable partner for fighting global threats, from terrorism to financial crises, which no single nation can overcome alone. That's why the United States places such importance on our relationship with Azerbaijan. We want Azerbaijan to succeed in becoming a market-based economy and a democratic state. We want it to live in peace with its neighbors and play a central role in bringing stability to the region. These goals are not only in Azerbaijan's self-interest, but in our common interest. My next question is then, how is the United States helping Azerbaijan achieve these objectives? Our bilateral agenda focuses on three main areas: security cooperation, energy, and economic and democratic reform. In the security realm, one of our highest priorities is fighting the threat of violent extremism. Azerbaijan, a moderate secular state with a majority Muslim population, has been a key ally in this campaign. It has shared information, increased efforts to combat terrorism financing, and apprehended and prosecuted suspected terrorists. As an active participant in NATO's Partnership for Peace program, Azerbaijan is developing multifaceted security relationships with its neighbors in the region. It has made steadfast contributions to NATO and coalition efforts in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Kosovo, which, Mr. Ambassador, we greatly appreciate. In 2008, Azerbaijani troops completed 5 years of service in Iraq, often serving next to United States Marines. This year, the number of Azerbaijani peacekeepers in Afghanistan doubled from 45 to 90. Azerbaijan also provides valuable overflight, refueling, and landing rights for American and coalition aircraft bound for Afghanistan and Iraq. While Azerbaijan has made critical contributions to international security efforts, we recognize that the country has security concerns closer to home. Key to long-term stability in the region is achieving a peaceful resolution of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Let me assure you that the President and Secretary Clinton are committed to doing everything possible to support that goal. We want to see Azerbaijan and Armenia living side by side in a peace that fosters mutual prosperity. Toward that end, we recently announced the appointment of Ambassador Bob Radke as the next U.S. co-chair of the OSCE Minsk Group. Bob brings more than 36 years of Foreign Service experience to the position, reflecting the importance that the United States places on this process. We hope that the recent progress made in talks between Presidents Aliyev and Sargsyan will lead to tangible results when they meet next month. The outline of a possible settlement has been clear for some time, though, as with all things, the devil lies in the details, and further discussions will be needed to satisfy the concerns of both sides. We trust that all parties will show the political will necessary to close negotiations and bring the conflict to its desired end, and we will devote considerable time and effort toward this goal. Likewise, the historic steps being taken by Turkey and Armenia toward normalizing relations are very encouraging. Although this rapprochement is not linked to the Nagorno-Karabakh negotiations, both processes are critical for resolving the long-standing problems that have divided the South Caucasus and limited opportunities for regional growth. Settling these disputes will open doors to new levels of cooperation, trust, and commercial development region-wide. Speaking of commercial development brings me to our next area of bilateral cooperation, energy. The U.S. and Azerbaijan have a long partnership in major strategic energy projects that have created linkages between West and East. This week, Azerbaijan is celebrating the 15th anniversary of the contract of the century, which eventually led to the construction of the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan oil pipeline. Today, this pipeline exports about 1 million barrels of oil per day. Having also completed the South Caucasus gas pipeline, Azerbaijan is now on the threshold of a new and even more promising phase of energy sector development. The recent signing of the Nabucco intergovernmental agreement was a major milestone for opening up a new natural gas corridor to Europe. It is important that Turkey and Azerbaijan build on this momentum and soon reach an agreement on gas pricing, transit, and any remaining issues needed to make the southern corridor a reality. Such projects have not only unlocked Caspian energy resources for the world, but have also fueled Azerbaijan's economy and secured a more independent economic future for the Azerbaijani people. I realize that some have described U.S. and Russian energy policies as the next great game in Central Asia. This depiction is misleading. While there are always elements of competition in energy matters, as in any commercial area, the United States does not believe that energy security is a zero-sum game. We can gain more by working together than against one another. It is our firm belief that greater interconnectivity maximizes diverse sources and routes, ensures better market pricing, and protects against supply disruptions for the good of all countries. In that vein, we hope that Azerbaijan and its neighbors will continue to develop their production of oil and gas. We encourage ongoing discussions between Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Turkey, and other partners to find reliable, transparent ways to help this production reach European and other markets. And I assure you that the United States stands ready to keep working closely with Azerbaijan, our other friends in the region, and the private sector to strengthen and expand global energy supply. While several major U.S. firms such as Chevron and Exxon operate in Azerbaijan's energy industry, we'd frankly like to see more U.S. investment in the non-oil sectors. American companies can help Azerbaijan diversify its economy by bringing new technologies and skill sets. I'm confident that investment will flow as long as Azerbaijan continues its program of economic and democratic reform, which is the third pillar of our shared agenda. Azerbaijan has already made significant strides in improving the country's infrastructure and regulatory environment. These efforts earned it the distinction of being the top reformer in the World Bank's Doing Business report in 2009. Azerbaijan also became the first country to comply with the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, which sets the global standard for transparency in oil, gas, and mining. But more work remains to implement these reform processes and put into place the laws and institutions needed for businesses to thrive and oil wealth to improve the lives of all citizens. Joining the World Trade Organization, an aspiration that Azerbaijan has pursued and the United States strongly supports, promises to be one of the fastest ways for the country to seize the benefits of foreign markets and attract international investors. At the same time, WTO rules require world-class business standards, transparency, and a level playing field for all enterprises, small and large. This means tackling the problem of corruption. Transparency International noted in its 2008 Corruption Perceptions Index that corruption remains a serious challenge in post-Soviet states, including Azerbaijan. Corruption effectively acts as an extra tax that weighs most heavily on small businesses. It corrodes the rule of law and cripples law enforcement. It robs citizens of the wealth derived from economic growth. Sadly, corruption is a common failing of human nature worldwide, the United States included. But a democratic government has the responsibility to ensure it doesn't become a failing of the entire system by going undetected and unpunished. And this begs the question, how do you fight corruption, as the Azerbaijani government has promised in its national strategy, without an independent media that can bring problems to light? Free press and a strong civil society are some of the most effective tools for combating corruption and protecting our citizens. The continued detentions of opposition journalists, as well as the blocking of Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, Voice of America, and BBC broadcasts in Azerbaijan, have raised significant concerns in these areas. We've urged the Azerbaijani government to consider the impact of such actions in terms of its broader developmental and democratic goals. Increased transparency and governance will help Azerbaijan realize the democratic principles it endorses and economic well-being it seeks. The United States provides technical assistance and training to help improve public expenditure planning, enhance the capacity of the commercial finance system, and strengthen private sector competitiveness. Our assistance activities support election reform and fund education for journalists. They also back NGOs that battle corruption and help youth groups that seek to create new spaces for democratic debate on the web. We believe that an active civil society complements the role of government and cultivates a dynamic nation. The United States, as a strong and steady friend of Azerbaijan, is committed to working together with the Azerbaijani government and its people to support the development of a secure, prosperous, and democratic state. It is increasingly obvious that Azerbaijan has become much more than a trading stop on the Silk Road. As Azerbaijan progresses down its chosen path of reform, its influence will continue to extend into political, economic, and cultural spheres and its connections with the United States will continue to deepen. A strong U.S.-Azerbaijan partnership is more important today than ever before. There are significant global challenges which neither of us can tackle alone. As with all bilateral relationships, there may be times when our interests do not coincide, but I hope I've clearly conveyed today where we share common ground. Whether in the realm of security, energy, or economic and democratic reform, we have a truly historic opportunity to transform the region and help it achieve its geopolitical and economic potential. We need each other to accomplish this extraordinary task, and I'm optimistic that we'll live up to the challenge. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best in what is a very important conference. Thank you again.